Hello, good creatures, and welcome. My name is Patrina Calder, and today on The Creatures We Become, we're continuing with part 2 in our series on mindfulness for beginners. These short episodes between our regular podcast recordings are intended as a resource for our clients and listeners. If you have any feedback or requests for the types of episodes you'd like to see from us, please feel free to reach out to either Nate or me with your ideas. Now, without further preamble, let's get into it. In the first episode on mindfulness for beginners, I promised to follow that one up with another option for a mindfulness practice that you could learn to do on your own without needing to listen to a recording. That's what we're going to do today. As with the first episode, we will do the mindfulness practice first and then spend some time debriefing afterwards. Mindfulness is best understood through experience. So for that reason, first we do, then we discuss. Now for the disclaimer. This mindfulness practice is not for anyone who is driving or who is multitasking with any other activity where there's a chance you might be injured if you're not giving the activity your full attention. So if that's you, please hit the pause button and come back to this episode when you're in a place of safety. With that out of the way, let's begin. You don't have to do this, but I find that by beginning my mindfulness practices the same way every time, it helps to train my brain by giving it a cue that we're about to begin a mindful practice. It helps me settle in. For that reason, once we start, I'm going to direct you to begin with 2 big breaths, focusing on a strong exhale to push all the air out of your lungs. On the reciprocal side of that out-breath, you will naturally be able to draw a deeper in-breath, helping your body to settle into a parasympathetic or relaxed state. Let's do this now. I would like for you to sit in an upright but relaxed posture. I invite you to close your eyes. But if you are not comfortable with your eyes closed, then just let your gaze fall onto the surface in front of you and allow the muscles around your eyes to relax. Your vision might go a little fuzzy, and that's okay. We're trying to minimize visual distractions to help our minds focus on our breathing. Now, take a big breath in and blow it out. And again, big breath in and blow it out. For this practice, I will guide you in the beginning, but then I am going to set a timer for 5 minutes and I will not speak during that time. Your practice is to follow your breath while sitting in that silence. You don't have to breathe in a particular way, just pay attention to your breathing. Follow the air in, follow the air out. Notice the moment your breath transitions from in to out. Notice the moment when it transitions from out to in. Notice where in your body you feel your breath. Do you notice it in your belly, your ribs, your chest, your throat, your nose? There is no right or wrong way to breathe. You don't need to instruct your body on what to do. Simply observe your breaths and notice what happens. Inevitably, your mind will wander off. You'll stop being the observer of your breath and instead have opinions about your breathing. You may get distracted by other body sensations. Your mind may travel to remember things about the past or imagine things in the future. Every time that you notice your mind has wandered off, your job is to notice that this has happened, let go of the thoughts, and to bring your attention back to your breath. What is your breath doing? Are you on the in or the out? Where in your body do you feel your breath? Our timer begins now. before you open your eyes, I want you to take another intentional big breath in, focusing on a strong exhale. We'll do that twice. So big breath in and blow it out. Big breath in and blow it out. And give your body a little bit of a wiggle. Open your eyes and come back to now. How was that today? What did you notice? Did the time pass quickly? Or did the time seem to go by slowly? I found that as I was going through that, there were minutes that felt like seconds, and then there were seconds that felt like minutes. I've been practicing mindfulness for years, and it is never the same twice. And each moment that I settle into it, even though I have these routines and the familiarity, it is still different every time. So whatever you notice today, it is correct. The practice of mindfulness isn't about doing it correctly or having a particular kind of experience to deem it successful. In fact, that's one of the things I wanted to talk about in our debrief today, is this idea that mindfulness is successful for the process. There is no outcome we are looking for to determine whether or not a mindfulness practice was successful. So, achieving a relaxed state is not a measure of success. Achieving a perfectly blank mind and not having your mind wander off is also not necessarily a measure of success in mindfulness. There's no particular outcome we are looking for. We are simply looking to enter into the experience and notice what there is to notice and wrestle with our thoughts as they wander off to do something else. And then we go through the practice of trying to catch those thoughts and bring them back to focusing on what we intend to focus on as the practice goes on. So, because of that, it means that you don't need perfect conditions to practice mindfulness. It doesn't need to be perfectly quiet. And if there were unexpected noises in your environment that disrupted your ability to focus on your breathing because you were distracted by other things, that's not a problem. It didn't ruin your mindfulness practice. It may have made it more difficult to focus your attention in that moment, but it didn't ruin anything. And so don't feel like you need to have optimal conditions in order to practice mindfulness. If you can get to a relaxed state, like if you were looking to practice mindful meditation, and as part of the meditation practice, you are intending to enter into a more relaxed Zen kind of place, then yes, you want to set up your space for success in that way. You're going to want to reduce distractions and reduce noise in your environment, but that is not a requirement for a successful mindfulness practice. And in fact, I think that there's tremendous value in sometimes trying to practice mindfulness in highly distractible environments. And the reason is this, that sometimes you are going to need to focus your attention in order to manage your emotions. This is why we teach core mindfulness skills in the type of therapy that I do. It is one of the foundational skills that is necessary for emotion regulation. The reason for that is because our thoughts and opinions about the situation that we are in often ramp up or can calm down our emotional reaction to the situation that we are in. Our minds, in having those thoughts, are evaluating our situation, and that evaluation can either further inflame our feelings about the situation, or it can help soothe and calm us. A great example of this for me is if I am stuck in a lineup somewhere. So for example, imagine you are traveling and you are stuck in a security lineup at an airport that is running particularly inefficiently that day. The human beings that are trying to run that security line are doing their very best, and sometimes it still gets log jammed. And that can affect us when we're already stressed with having to travel, and maybe we are running behind and worried about getting to our gate on time, et cetera, et cetera. Being able to, in that moment where you're feeling really stressed, recognizing that your internal state of distress in that moment is not going to get you through the security line any faster. And in fact, it's just going to increase your stress response in that moment. The more stressed we are, the less resilient we tend to be, the less creative in responding to the situation that we're in, the more compassionate we are able to be with the other human beings around us. It makes us short, it makes us shirty, and then we tend to be unpleasant to be around, making it a bad day for everybody. That's often what's happening with all of the people in the lineup and all of the humans working the security. So being able to then just notice your reaction, notice the thoughts and the opinions that you have about the situation that you are in, being able to notice your own emotions and notice the nonverbal cues that suggest what the emotional state of the people around you is. Just observing your situation and paying attention to that can really help to regulate your feelings. The second thing I wanted to include in our debrief today, in terms of one of the things that we learn through the process of regularly practicing mindfulness, is we learn to distinguish the difference between us and our thoughts, or us and our feelings. So for example, if I am anxious, no, I'm not. I'm not anxious. I'm Katrina. I'm feeling anxious. I'm not angry. I'm feeling angry. I am not the thought about whatever it is that has come along in my brain. So I am not the thought that, like, this line should be moving faster and they should have more people working today and it should be run more efficiently than this. I am not those thoughts. Those are thoughts I am having, but it's not who I am. And so as you're practicing mindfulness and you're just sitting there I am choosing to pay attention to my breathing. That's who I am. I am the observer who is paying attention to my breathing. The thoughts or the feelings, those are just phenomena that happen in my brain. I am not my thoughts. I am not my feelings. I am the observer. And those things happen around me, and I can choose to engage with them when they are helpful, but I can also choose to disconnect from them when they are not helpful to me in the moment. So as you take this practice with you, I would encourage you to practice it every single day. Simply set a timer for yourself on your phone, sit your butt down wherever you are, and try and follow your breath for 5 minutes. You can do this standing up when you're in a line. You may not want to close your eyes in that situation, but again, just recognize then that you're going to be challenged with more visual distraction. In that case, I might pivot to, instead of trying to focus on my breath and internal sensation, because I'm going to have my eyes open, I'm going to focus on maybe counting how many blue objects do I see. I am standing here and I'm just going to scan my environment and count the number of blue things that I can see, or how many different shades of blue I can see in my environment. Pick whatever you like. It's kind of like a game of I Spy, but you're playing it with yourself and you're just randomly picking something that you're going to count, and just scan your environment to notice that. And any thought that comes into your mind that wanders off, that is not just searching for something in the environment that's blue, that's a thought that's distracted you from the mindfulness activity, and you are going to bring it back to focusing on that. Over time, what happens as you practice being the observer and then disconnecting from the idea that you are your thoughts, you will notice for yourself what are the types of habitual thoughts that tend to come up in your mind. What are the thoughts that are kind of constantly playing in the background, like elevator music in the background of your mind? Those thoughts are happening all the time. You are not your thoughts. Those thoughts are not necessarily accurate. Those thoughts are often internalized opinions or beliefs or worldviews that we have picked up and heard along the way. It's kind of that default chatter that happens in the background of our minds. By practicing being the observer and just noticing, we start to notice patterns in what the background chatter tends to focus on, tends to pay attention to. What are the types of things it says? What are the types of things that seem salient to the background chatter? And then you can decide for yourself, is that what actually matters to me? Is that what I want to be paying attention to? We can't change the things that are outside of our awareness. So first we have to get it from out of the background into the foreground so that we can notice it. The only way to do that is by being the observer, focusing on something else, and then you notice, you catch those thoughts when they come out. Because in that moment where you're not attached to the thought, you can see it for what it is, background chatter. It's a habit that you have picked up along the way, a thinking habit. And so that is mindfulness practice number 2 for beginners. Feel free to use this audio recording to get yourself set up. But I strongly encourage you also to make mindfulness practices also something that is more informal, more incidental in your day, to incorporate it wherever you can. The more practice that you can have with this, the more reps you put in, the stronger the muscle of being able to catch your thoughts when they wander off and bring them back to paying attention to what you want to focus on, the stronger that ability will be. You also, through that repetition and practice, get more skillful at being the observer, and you will help to kind of flesh out the chatter that's in the background of your mind to better understand what is some of the background chatter, what's the broken record that's playing in the back of my mind, so that you can then scrutinize it and ask yourself, is this helpful to me? And if it's not, then you can do some work to replace it. I hope that this was helpful. As I said, if you are interested in other topics, other resources, other short episodes that you'd like to hear from either Nate or myself, please feel free to reach out to us. You can find Nate at Nate Bolding on both Instagram and TikTok. You'll find me at Patrina Calder, and you can also find the podcast at The Creatures We Become. We put these episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Feel free to reach out to us on any of those platforms, and we look forward to hearing from you. Have a great day.